Coach Dar, welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast. I was saying off air, it was just a matter of time before I was going to get a chance to interview you. I've had a lot of your friends on the show. The new book
Mhm.
is out. It's just perfect timing. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, DJ, for having me on. I was psyched to have this happen today.
Awesome. I love your energy. I love all your stuff. I think before we get into the nitty gritty of what it means to bounce back, my listeners first got to know, who is Coach Dar? How did you get to the point that you're at today? Give me the elevator pitch.
It's funny because when I get asked this question, I'm like, what do I say who I am? And, what came to mind one time is a friend said to me, "You're a hope dealer." I was like, what? She's like, no, seriously, like you help people like step into their greatness, but have hope again that like the impossible's possible and shifting their mindset. And I would say, I could tell you the titles and the things, but I'm someone who found a way, just like many, but to take their gifts and their talents and meet the world's needs with it. And it gave me purpose. And I found that early on, thankfully, in life. And I help people totally break barriers in their mindset. And so the traditional who Coach Dar is this little Italian from the East Coast who has a family like the Sopranos. And I loved every minute of it. And I'm an occupational therapist. So I'm board certified as an occupational therapist, but I specialized in neuroscience and neuropsychology, helping traumatic brain injury patients early on overcome the most crazy things that could happen to them, defy all the odds, and come back to find a new normal. So my patients would come to the hospital like you or I, anyone going about their day on vacation, driving to work, whatever the scenario is, and a car accident happens, or a motorcycle accident, or a brain tumor, or stroke. And all of a sudden their life is flipped upside down. And when they came to our specialty hospital, we would have them for sometimes 3 months to a year. And everyone's like, you got to get my person back. Like, this can't be how this is. And then the person eventually is like, what's going on? And you were quickly their therapist, their motivator, their coach. You're their everything, trying to help them come back. So I say this because early on I was equipped with my education, but also the skill set, helping thousands and thousands of patients overcome and come back. So think about this, like, you don't realize early on in your life what's setting you up for what you're going to continue to do in life. And so me being a therapist doing that, I did that. And then I had my own setbacks that I overcame. And I went back to school for business while I was working. And then I went on to run a few companies. And then I went on to start my own private practice in the middle of a recession, which I don't recommend, but I kind of do, because it's like, if you have a skill that meets the world's needs, go for it. Don't wait. Don't let the environment determine when you show up. Just show up. So that's what I did. And I've had this private practice that I have, and I speak and coach now professional athletes and global leaders around the world and shift their mindsets. And I feel very grateful to help the people that I'm allowed to help, because, you think people have everything, but everyone's dealing with something, and it's a human experience we're all having, and everyone needs someone they could trust and that could help them.
Take me back to those days of being a traumatic brain therapist, if you will. Dar,
Yeah.
what was the biggest challenge for you during that time?
Mm. At first, when I first started, it was almost where I'm someone who goes and lives life. Like, I'm just like, let's go. But you saw one, two, three, 1,000 people where they were just going out doing their normal thing, and then something hit them. And it almost started at first where you almost wanted to like pull back into a shell and become super cautious, because you saw what happens out there. But then you have to shift your mindset to say, like, no, you've got to live your life, because the theme that came out of this was, we never know when something's going to happen. So go live it now. And I saw that in real time every day. And then I had my patients who, one of them, I remember just out of college, I'm sitting there 21 years old, and this guy is only 50 years old, worked his tail off, financially set, ready to retire, and has a massive stroke. And he is paralyzed and can't speak well. And he's sitting there going, Dar, I waited my whole life to take my wife on those trips that I promised. I can't even hold my granddaughter right now. He's like, I can't make love to my wife the way I want. I can't go on the trip. I can't do things, all the things that now I have the time and money to do, and I can't do it. So he said, be smart, but go live. Go live life. And I was like, heck yeah.
There's a fine line there, though, isn't there, between
Yeah.
being, I don't know if the word is stupid with your money or saving money, and people want to
Oh, yeah.
save till they're retired or 60. I mean, there's really that fine balance there, and I smile because like my sister and I were very much opposite. I'm much more of a saver. She's much more of a hey, money's timeless. Let's spend money now. So I have a belief that there's something kind of in between there. And although this wasn't in my question list, talk to me a little about how do you ride that line between living in the moment now and then saving a little at a time. What does that look like? I've never really had that conversation on the show before.
This is really good because I just was talking to Stephen Cutler about his thing in our country, and his is all like put yourself out to the extreme and challenge yourself a bit. But he has some sense of the risk too, and where what he's equipped to, but enough that challenges him a little. So I'm applying that in the same sense of I feel like in my life too, I have pushed myself to some limits where I'm like, there's some perceived risk here that's real. And I understand it. And I can't go kind of past that because there might not be some coming back from it. But also, so I have some smart awareness of this, some EQ of it. But I also am not going to be so cautious that I don't let myself out of the gate to enjoy it.
Hmm.
So I think it's different for everyone because for you, why would we push yourself so far to the extreme? It's going to cause such anxiety. But we could say, hey, DJ, you know what? This buddy, I want you to come. I just was in Italy. I would be like, you know what? I'm telling you, spend your money now to come on this trip with me to Italy. It's going to be insane and worth it. And I think the experience is going to enhance your life. Like they're enriching activities that enhance your life, then it's a yes all day. If it's literally just wasting your money on things that are not, there's no ROI on it at all. Well, I mean, that probably is not the smartest thing to do.
Hmm. Which end of the spectrum do you think most people live on?
I think more people are frivolous, and I think they actually they're not conscious or intentional to being aware of what they're spending their time and money on. So they watch, okay, listen, I love a Netflix show just like everyone else, but there's no way I'm going to spend every night just being done with work and watching Netflix every single night until 2 a.m. because now my recovery's not good. I'm not optimal the next day. So I think about what's the ROI on my time. And I think more people are just like, oh, I want this, I'm going to get it. And it may not even be anything that's going to satisfy them anyways. I'm going to go do this drug or do this thing or whatever it is, just so they could have the moment they need now, not realizing the consequences of it. And so it's really more of a transactional life that they're living. And like I keep saying, what's going to enrich your life? So make your decisions on truly enrichment for your growth, your longevity, and the people around you. You have to think of others too.
So you started your career as a board certified occupational therapist, still are in that space, but then you've also moved into professional sports, where with the Phoenix Suns, you work a lot with the professional athletes. I'm curious, as a mental performance coach myself, how has being in the hospitals and being with traumatic patients, if you will, how has that helped you in the field of sports? What were the carryovers there where you're like, man, I have learned this at a different space and it's helped me in the professional sports arena? I'm curious.
Twofold to that answer. One, I didn't have my eyes set on this, but I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. When your gifts and talents meet a certain need in this world, you lean into it. I grew up with a father where our whole life was sports and we would watch film. I literally would watch the New York Giants on Sundays with my aunts and uncles. And my dad would have my uncles back over on Wednesday to watch film. Why? I don't know. Like we just broke down film, basketball, everything. We broke it down. So little that I know is being primed in leadership and film and everything, sports. But here's the other thing. My type of therapy, occupational therapy, is it that occupation is whatever occupation you're in, whatever role. I meet you there by working on your human performance. So I was already teed up on helping people with the neuro, the brain, the science, and the psychology to help people move forward. So here's the thing, DJ, people were not doing this when I started my practice necessarily. Then I felt like Elon Musk talking about you're going to have self-driving cars and this is going to be great. And people are like, you're crazy. Well, I was talking about this part of performance and mindset years ago, and using my skill and talent when everyone was like, no one's going to talk about this. Like, what do we need to know about mental edge and all of that? We just get physically stronger. We're going to just barrel through it. And you're like, yeah, no, there's a whole part of mindset on this. So I naturally walked into this because when I started my practice, when I started really just speaking on mindset and mental edge and the tools and shifting all this, people started to come. If you build it, they will come. Well, some of those people were athletes, and I was one-on-one with them, and it was on the down low because people weren't talking about it like they're talking now. So they'd be like, I have this person I work with, but I don't want anyone to know. And now everyone's like, yeah, I got my mental edge coach, you know? So it was natural for me to walk into this, but it was not a planned thing. But in essence, it's everything that I do. I just took it out of the traditional setting and brought it to where it meets people in the boardroom, the locker room, family room, doesn't matter to me. We all have a brain that we're dealing with, and I'm trained and specialized in this area. So I stay in my lane. I'm not talking about anything else that I don't know.
I love it. One of my favorite lines is, "You don't have to be sick to get better." And if we that goes for everybody, right? That's not just for professional athletes. Everybody can improve upon their mindset. Okay, let's get into the book because it's phenomenal. So the book just came out. It's called The Art of Bouncing Back. Find your flow, thrive at work and in life anytime you're off of your game. So before we get into some of these principles, it's great stuff. First, what is a setback, and what do most people get wrong? Before we get into what we want to do, I think first we got to kind of go through the myths and some of the terminology before we dive in. So what's a setback? Why the book? Let's get the table set.
Well, a setback is going to be defined by the person, because you have a Navy SEAL who a setback to him is totally, or her is totally different than a setback to someone else. So the setback is the thing that holds you back mentally, that if you allow it, that you can't come back from. Or if you shift your mindset, the setback is the comeback. So it's an adversity, it's an obstacle, it's a problem that you have to work through so that then you could come back better than ever. And I look at this as like when we tear muscle to grow our muscles, to get them bigger, we're tearing them and then fibers build on top. So it's stepping stones, like it's how your muscle visibly gets bigger. The same happens with adversity. Every time we're shredded a little bit through adversity, we literally, if we allow ourselves, get stronger from that. So now when we hit another obstacle, we're not back at ground zero if we didn't want it to be. We're on a higher level dealing with it. And that's what this book is. I want this to be an epiphany for people that read this ahead of time, because you could take all of the setbacks, challenges, and adversity and allow that to be now your mountain that you get to stand on, to see better, to do better, to live better from. And that's how you can take a setback and make it your greatest comeback, and not only come back, but thrive again.
And it's truly life changing when you start to see adversity as your advantage. There's nothing that's getting in your way at that point. I mean, anything can happen to you, and you know you're going to be able to bounce back. I like the line, it's the bounce that counts. And for you reading this book, that's what I was thinking, man. It's the bounce. It's like the Super Bowl. The harder that you bounce it, the higher that it goes.
Yes, totally. That's why I've been handing out bouncy balls forever for that analogy. So when it came to this, I literally drew the artwork for the book, because I need you to understand, the harder you bounce it, the higher you go again. So don't be afraid of adversity.
Good. So let's dive in. There's 9 principles here. The first principle is embrace the suck. Talk to me about that.
Listen, when you're going through something hard, someone just called me before we go on, something really devastating, honestly, in their life just happened. And they're like, how do I handle this? And I said, well, the last thing I'm going to do is tell you the plan at this very moment, because you're just hearing about this. What I'm going to do is come alongside you. We're going to embrace this. This sucks. Like, there's no sugarcoating when bad stuff happens, you know, and the last thing I'd want to do is sound insensitive to someone. And you don't want to hear what the plan is. You want to hear, like, do you hear me? I'm hurting. This sucks. So I had to start off with, we need to first twofold. One, if you're going through it, just know you've got to eventually embrace this, because when you sit there and keep going, why, and you sometimes don't have the answer. You have to sit and say, okay, I may not have the answer to why, but I need to embrace this is what I'm dealing with, so then I can plan to get out of this eventually. What we don't deal with, we can't heal with. from. So you need to embrace it for what it is. And then if you're helping someone, because part of this book gives you the tools to help others, is come alongside them and embrace it with them. We don't stay in the victim mindset too long, but there is a point where you have to deal with the pain of it. So let's deal with the pain, embrace the suck of it, and then you can move forward.
I like that a lot because it takes away the idea that, because some people could be listening to this and go, Coach Dar, you don't know my situation, right? You don't know what I'm going through. I got this, I got this, I got this.
I know.
But there's as a coach, you got to be able to respect what's going on. So I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say life is positive, life is great. That's what I'm
Right.
not trying to say. I'm not Pollyanna looking through this thing with rose-colored glasses, as John Gordon always famously says. That's not what we're saying. I
Right.
respect what you're going through. And maybe I think the big takeaway there, Dar, is there needs to be kind of a moment where you just need to sit in it a little bit. Not too long, of course,
Yeah.
but there needs to be a moment when you need to sit in it. Am I following you correctly?
Yeah, and here's the thing, sitting in it for everyone is a different time frame. It's acknowledgement. We just need to acknowledge it. The
Mm,
general in battle looks over the hill and sees what's ahead, and it's going to be bad. We know we're going to fight this war, but we've got to acknowledge what's ahead so we can make the right battle plan. So acknowledge what's there, and also, have some understanding that it's going to be different for everyone. But if you sit too long in the pain, it could become quicksand for you. So just be cautious. There's a fine line here.
love that. Principle number 2, understand who you are. Can we talk on that?
Here's the thing. When you want to have like rock solid confidence that doesn't waver, I'm just going to say this. When you start doing the work of whether it's personality assessments, even bio indicators, you do your strengths test, you just keep finding all the markers that make up who you are. You now have this foundation, this set that says, DJ, this is you, buddy. So when something comes along and you lose a position or finances or a relationship, whatever it is that throws you off, guess what's not taken away? Your DNA, your makeup, your gifts, your talents. That didn't get taken away. How you think about it might have, but it literally didn't go away. So when you understand how you're hardwired and you understand who you are, you always have something solid to go back to. So while the environment changes, you to the core didn't change. And if you keep making your core really strong every day, making it better and better, damn, that is something solid to keep going back to. So when you have that solid foundation, now you're like a lighthouse in the middle of the storm. You're not wavering. You're solid, and that's what's going to give you strength as you keep building from this to come back.
One of the big parts of this chapter was fundamental hardwiring. Is that what you're alluding to?
That's right. Your fundamental hardwiring is that. And your fundamental hardwiring, you keep making your fundamental hardwiring work for you. You make it better. So you're naturally gifted in something, enhance that, and then keep leaning on that, because that's the very thing that's going to keep getting you through and give you the confidence to keep going forward.
So, Dar, is this a drill? Is this a journal? What does this look like? I love giving just applicable items for my listeners. How do we do that? How do we strengthen our fundamental hardwiring?
Do the assessments. Do all the assessments you can that work for you. So whatever personality assessment, strength finders assessment. And I even am brought into like, find out too, like I talk about biomarkers, find out to your DNA. Like I do DNA tests. I want to know what's working for me. And then when I know what's working against me, I can refuel it with certain foods or nutrition or something. But I'm trying to get who I am to the best possible place it could be. So when the storms hit, I'm so much more solid. So that even means assessments on all levels. It's the psychosocial, the personality, the biomarkers, like everything. Get all the assessments done, have this foundation of who you are, and then that stays in front of you. So you have something to build on to keep making stronger.
This is one of those skills that I would say as a 30, 40, 50-year-old might become a little bit easier because you've been on earth a little bit longer. But if you have this down as a 16, 20-year-old listening to this, my gosh, Dar, are you ahead of the game as a young teenager or college student? If you can, and some of it, I would say some of it you probably don't have down. You're going to need some more time on this earth to kind of figure out some of these things. But if you can at least start the process of some of this fundamental hardwiring, man, you can save yourself a lot of things. A lot of heartbreaks probably too.
Oh yeah. But here's the thing, 16 years old, you do an assessment right away that starts telling you hey, you are gifted in this area. You're really strong in this area. These are things that come natural to you. Guess what you're going to do? Make better decisions on choices for a career path, future partner for you, whatever it is that's going to set you up for success ahead of time. So do this early because you will avoid some obstacles.
To put it lightly.
Yes, yes, yes.
So principle one, embrace the suck. Your setbacks don't define you. Every comeback you make continues to refine you. Principle two, understand who you are. You're amazing, unique, and powerful. Stay aligned and focused on this. Principle number three, seek and apply feedback. Talk to me about this.
I get passionate about this one because we live
Good.
in a world where we're not seeking and applying feedback. So, you go through something, you want to learn from it. You don't have to stay locked into the pain of the mistake you made, but you have to learn the lesson from it. So the only way you could learn from it is to seek and apply feedback. Let's just give the scenario. Say it is a relationship. Say something got messed up with it. Whoever's fault it is, there's something you could learn from it. Seek feedback from people around you. How was I in this? If it's a work scenario, you gave a presentation, you didn't get the client you wanted. Ask people, what do you think went well? In the pros, we literally play a game and are watching film during game time, right when the plays are happening. We're seeking and then applying feedback in real time so we can make the next play better instantly. In life, we don't do this. We literally don't seek and apply feedback in real time. So you get in a disagreement, something doesn't go well. You sometimes wait months to have the conversation. Seek and apply the feedback right then and there. Start talking about it. Use effective communication. Have the difficult conversations. Say it's even something you want to do in a hobby. It's something you want to do you want to grow at. Start asking people now in real time how you could get better at it. In business, we wait for a once a year performance review. Are you kidding me? You're waiting a year to get feedback on how you did. You're already behind the eight ball. And that's why your competition's beating you out. Be the person that's like, tell me in real time from trusted sources, by the way. These aren't like Twitter dwellers here that are giving you feedback. This is a trusted source around you that's giving you feedback. That is your trusted circle you go to. But ask people even this question of like, hey, what's it like being friends with me? No one asks that. What's it like being friends with me? Are there things that help our friendship, and are there things that maybe are hurting our friendship that I could get better at before the friendship starts to sway and you're like, oh, well, we just drifted. Well, did you have to? This could go for your business partner. This could go for your life partner. Start saying, what's it like to be married to me? And be ready for the answer, and then make the changes. But my point is like, why aren't we having these conversations? If we do it in the pros in real time, why aren't we doing it in real life?
I love that you're so passionate about this. I can hear it from across the screen here. And I am too. One of the quotes in my book and something I say on stage a lot is the best leaders, they seek feedback without pushback. It's one thing
Yeah.
to seek feedback and give pushback and get defensive. It's another thing to seek feedback, take it for what it's worth, and then make changes. On page 45 of your book, you have seeking feedback to comeback. We got a lot of rhymes. I love it. Here are a few suggestions to make soliciting feedback. Once a month, send a text to 3 to 5 people you interact with socially and ask the following questions. What's it like to be on the other side of me? What's something I'm saying a lot lately? And what's one way I can improve my work or personal life? Another one is once a quarter, send out a Google form or any anonymous inquiry form to those same people and ask things like, how do people describe me when I'm not in the room? How do you feel when the phone rings or dings and my name is on the screen? What do you understand to be my current goals? And what advice would you give me right now? I mean, these are great questions and they dive really deep into it. It's not just on the surface, how are you?
Yeah.
We're diving deep and getting feedback. It's great stuff.
It just honestly, we can make this life as great as we want it to if we're willing to dive in and do the work, but most just stay surface level. And it's like that's what you're going to get back is surface level, but dive in and get the most out of this. And that's willing to be vulnerable, and that's willing to be open and have honest communication.
You think most people are scared or apprehensive to do this because they're just nervous for what they could say back, what they're going to hear back, or is it just
Yeah.
scary to? I mean, why are people apprehensive about this? For me, it's like I want to always ask for feedback. For you, it's natural. For people, it's not very natural. Why do you think they are a little more hesitant on this?
I also think it's part of like how you grew up.
Okay,
If you weren't used to hearing things, and you only heard good things and you never heard constructive ways to get better, it's going to be harder. So you're going to have more defense mechanism. So I could understand why it's not that easy for everyone, but we're not chained to our past. We have the choice to improve every day. So I just say to people, the more you put yourself in these scenarios, it gets a little easier. And you do have to, it is also the person you're asking, you know, if you're asking someone that is not going to give you quality feedback and they just are going to try to push your buttons because that's just their personality, well, that's not someone that you are going to take that information deeply with. So it does depend on who, but also the more you do this, the better you do become. And it is like a muscle because you're prepared and you start to go almost like, okay, bring it, I'm ready. And then you get to decide what you get to do with it. Even if it does come from a source that you're like, you know what? I know you're giving me feedback. Thank you. But that inside you're like, that's not a source that is quality that I'm going to count on.
So that is number 3, seek and apply feedback. Don't be afraid to ask for others and make sure to disconnect your ego as you seek for feedback. Number 4, this is powerful. Discover your why power. I'd love for you to coach me up on this.
We hear a lot about why power. Simon Sinek was, guru on why here. But this is where I shifted a little bit in the sense of why power over willpower. Listen, when we could only will ourselves sometimes through things, like you only have so much grit muscle. But if you are driven by your why are you going to get up in the middle of this worst adversity? Why are you going to get up when it's been, a really tough year every day? You're going to get up because your why is driving you. And let me just say this, we did not come to this world for us to serve ourselves, for gluttony. We didn't. That nowhere in this world did anyone come to this world just to have whatever they want, when they want, how they want. We came to serve others. Yes, you have to take care of yourself. Self-care is important, but you have a gift and a talent that the world needs. You were here with a mission to serve with that gift. So you could start to define what's that gift. Like what's the anthem? If the 30 for 30 was playing for your life, what would be the anthem that would come up, DJ, for your life? So anyone listening, when your movie gets played out, like what's the anthem you want to be known for? Mine's greatness. Mine is that I helped myself be the greatest version. I helped everyone that I came in contact with to be their greatest version. And I left them better than I found them. I wake up with that no matter whether I'm in line at the coffee shop or I'm at, talking to you right now. So when you start to get, and there's a formula in there that you could go through. So this is very practical on how you could break down your why statement, your power words, everything. When you do this, you now are fueled. That is CEO that when we worked on this, he's like, I want value to be my anthem. Like at the end of the day, value is what I'm known for. So he said, Dar, adding value to people's lives is what I want to be known for. And so he said, when I walk into the room, did I add value to my wife when I had a conversation, to my kids? Even if I'm outside meeting a stranger, did I add value to their life? Because think about how powerful when you're intentional about this, you show up better. So now he's like, did I add value, which is quality to someone's life? Do you not think that when he walks in the room, you're going to be like, gosh, I feel so good around him? It's game changing when you take this and you own this for yourself.
Yeah, it provides a lot of clarity, and I went through it myself, Dar. So my 3 words were: I want to energize, I want to educate, and I want to empower people, and mostly in the sense in the lens of the mental game. So I want to energize people about the mental game. I want to educate them about what that means. I want to empower them to use their mindset as an advantage. Hence the name of the podcast. So those are my 3. That's my why
Awesome.
statement.
Yeah. So think about it. You're going to walk into the room and be like, oh, did I educate in some way? Were my words useful to anyone? Did I bring energy? So you're already looking at the meter of what's my energy level when I walk in. Like you are living with this intention now, which is going to make you show up better. Even right now you are.
So teach me then coach me. How do I come up with my power word? What does that look like?
So I would just say like those 3 words were verbs, which gives you the energy that you need to do what? What is the one thing? So that guy's word was value, the CEO. Mine is greatness. Yours is you want to energize what? You want to educate what? Which is their mental well-being or their mental edge. So if you were to, if your 30 for 30 was coming up, it would be, what was DJ known for? And it could be mental edge. It could be
Hmm.
mindset. It could
Hmm.
be, but I would say, to get even before even just giving the answer right now, go to Google and put in core value words, because when it's driven by a core value, and it still may come back as that, but a core value word may drive these, which still gets you to help their mindset. So greatness still helps me to help people with their mindset, but the word is a core value. Because when you start to list this, you come up with core value words. Pick 5, and those are your pillars of the core values you stand for, and then pick one that's like the sword you're going to die on. That's your anthem.
One word that's been sticking with me in the last, I don't know, 4 to 5 months is impact. What do you think about
Yeah,
that? I want to have a bigger impact. Could that be one we're
that's
looking
it.
for? Okay.
That's what we got it. Oh, but you want to energize impact. You want to educate people on impact. And then what was the 30?
Empower.
Empower people. Hell yeah, we just did it. That's what I mean. Like, I get fueled up when people get their word, because now literally put impact everywhere for you. And be like, people say, what is your anthem? What do you stand for? And you're like, impact in this world. I want to energize, educate, and empower impact. You just got your mission statement.
Love it. Fires
It's
me up.
epic.
So fun. Your why power is what sets you apart, you say in principle number 4. Good. We're going to keep going here. Principle number 5. This was interesting to me. I learned some things about create your bounce back environment. And the bounce back environment comes down to 5 different things: your senses: sight,
Yep.
sound, smell, taste, and touch. I think most of us, Dar, we understand the physical parts of our environments, right? Is there couches? Is there TVs? What does it look like? But some of the things that really popped out to me were the smell and the sound. Teach me about some of those underlying themes that maybe most people don't think about when it comes to their environment.
Right. I'm going to take this even deeper. So surface level, yes, your senses. So when you set up, like, I love how you have the books around you. Like, that's already inspiring you. You're around people and their knowledge. Like, your environment, looking at it, is setting you up to help you make impact. So your environment, the scent you smell, uh, some things energize people, some things smells drain people, because it triggers an emotion. So put the scent, the energy. My sister thinks I'm funny, but we grew up by the beach, and it's the times with my mom and dad, and I love. And so when I smell suntan lotion, like either lotion or sunscreen, I get instantly happy. So there was a candle that came out that I would light, and I'm like, oh, it's like summer memories, but I was happy. So, but you could also put a candle on, or a scent that was associated to not something not happy, and that could trigger you right down. So understand what fuels you visually, sensual, like your senses, your taste, your sound, everything. So let's go to sound. Music is one of the greatest ways, or even binaural beats, anything, it could fuel you. But if you put on a sound or a song that triggers you for sad, it's going to pull you back. So why would you play that? Put the things on and the sounds around you that help you, fuel you mentally. Going a little deeper, the senses are not just surface level, but what are the sounds you are saying to yourself? Like the grunts, the emotion. Oh, yeah. You're saying stuff. There's sounds coming out of you all day. Are they helpful, and are they helpful to others and to bounce back in their environment? What visually? So that's body language. Make sure it's helping you. I couldn't go into too much depth because there's only so many chapters we could write, but I want people to understand this, that yes, it is very much about what you put around you, but it's also the things you're saying to yourself and to others, and what they're giving back to you. So this goes to people. Your bounce back environment is also people. If the people around you are not helping you, then you can't keep them in your environment when you're trying to bounce back. It's just not the right time.
The quote is, it's all about environment, environment, environment. And James Clear talks about this a lot. Make your environment as frictionless as possible. Help it so you're not swimming against the waves or current, you're swimming with the current. And there's so much truth in that, right? You see people, they put the Peloton right next to the couch. It's like, well, how can you curate your environment to make it so it's easy for you to do the
Yeah.
things that you want to do?
Yeah.
But that really takes a step further. I mean, some people, hey, this is my house, this is what I got. But you really got to take some time and intentionality to be like, how could I shift this to make it an advantage? My favorite word. How can you curate it so it's not, doesn't have as much friction to it? Take it a
Yes.
step further.
Yes. I mean, so my meditation that I do is through this thing, Brain Tap. I put it right next to my bed. So I put it on at night and I put it on in the morning. So I don't even get out of bed without doing it, because if it's there, then I'm habit stacking, but also I see it, I visually see it. So it just makes it easier for me.
Love it. Environment is everything. We could do a whole podcast. You could probably write a whole book on that piece alone.
Totally.
But let's move on. Principle number 6. There's a lot of beef in this one too. Activate emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence comes down to 3 things that you taught me: is emotional agility, emotional neutrality, and emotional accountability. If we could just touch on each of those, I think there's a lot of interesting pieces.
So the emotional agility, you
Mhm.
just have to be able to, when things come, you don't get so rigid that you're going to mentally break. Listen, if we've learned anything, we've got to stay emotionally agile. We've got to be able to pivot when things come. When adversity comes, it doesn't break you. Yes, you feel it, but you're going, okay, how do I stay agile? What do I do? Creative and business, you want to get better? Well, you have to be emotionally agile where you're not so rigid and it's this way or the highway. Okay. Well, you could stay that way, but if it's not serving you, then it's probably going to break you. So I want people to stay emotionally agile. So as things come, you could stay so agile that like clay, that you could just keep remolding on what you need to mentally. And then emotional neutrality is so much about, no one trusts a volatile person. When someone is volatile all the time and you feel like you're walking on eggshells and it's not a safe space for you, well, you just said, oh, it's not psychologically safe anymore. You can't build trust. So what you want to do is, for yourself and for others, work on, when things come, your emotions don't spike so high that you're so volatile that you can't make effective decisions anymore, or that it makes you or someone else feel uncomfortable. Now, yes, we're going to get angry or mad, but what do you do with that? Does it throw you so much off your game that you can't come back? I mean, think about pro sports. If they get so pissed off in a game about a play that they can't recover, they can't make the next play. But if they sit there and they're mad and you see them like hit their chest or like make something, they're like, let me use this to fuel me now rather than take me out of the game. That's the same thing we want to do. You want to have some emotional neutrality where things come at you as information, and there's enough of a pause where the environment is sending us a signal, stimuli, that we pause enough to then feel the emotion and then go, what do I want to do with this, versus just react to it. You want to learn how to respond properly to it. And then the last one, emotional accountability. Oh my gosh. We have so many people that are literally just out there, well, this is how I am and you're going to deal with it. Well, no, how you are is hurting people, and that's yourself and others, and that's not fair. Or taking accountability to how you just showed up in a room and spewed whatever you wanted to do and hurt people. And all right, are we getting now to the business meeting? Well, no, because you just came off in a way that was not healthy, didn't create safety. And when you trip up and you don't take any accountability for your emotions, how do you expect anything to grow from that? So, emotional intelligence is having awareness of yourself in all environments and then handling it properly. Listen, we are never going to be perfect, but if you can make progress in this area every day, people are going to be that much more forgiving, and you can be forgiving to yourself. But if you choose to keep tripping up, coming in with this brashness of emotion, this volatility, and you never really look at yourself as part of the problem and you don't want to fix it, well, then that's not coachability, and you're not coachable at that point. You're not going to be able to get better. You're not going to be my client.
I loved the part in this book about the common denominator story. Can you tell that really quick?
Oh my gosh. There was someone that continued to have these challenges. Basically, long story short of it is, have these challenges and kept coming up and was staying in a victim role. And every time it just kept, it was like the same scenario playing out. And I just said to them at one point, what do you think the common denominator is here? Which was the person. But truly, once they took ownership, once you take ownership, things could change. But if you don't, and you don't have that awareness, then it can't change. But it was someone that I worked with that every issue that came up, it was always about everyone else, literally everyone else. And I was like, what's the common denominator here? And they're like, me. Bingo. Okay, well, now we know what to fix.
That was a great part of the book. And you said bingo, and I said bingo after I read it. So it's funny because I read out loud. I said bingo, then I read bingo. I was like, man, that's spot on. We all know somebody like that. The emotional neutrality. Trevor Moawad used to talk about this a lot about getting to neutral. And you painted such a great picture on Newton's cradle. And why don't you go ahead and just tell those
No,
those
go ahead. Go ahead.
so,
I want to see how you interpret.
I thought this was so cool. I'm going to use this in a presentation because I try to teach athletes about getting to neutral. So for those that don't know, Newton's cradle is what you see sometimes in the movies or on people's desk where the ball comes out, hits the other one, and makes a reaction. But that ball in the middle doesn't move left or right. So how I see
Mhm.
it, Dar, and how I'm going to present it is that the ball on the right side is a happy face. It's a green face. It's a good thing that happened, right? That swings out. You still don't move because sometimes we don't react to bad things, but we react really big to good things where he's saying you got to stay neutral. So instead, it's here, don't let it hit, comes out here. So the left side is the negative voice. No matter what happens, the events around us, we are the same and we
That's
stay
right.
the same and we go back to neutral.
Right. Hey, your image just went out. I
It
don't know if
did.
that.
Yeah, that's okay. Keep rolling.
Okay. Okay. Uh, but yes, I mean, really, you have the ability and you know what's going to shift this and how you come back to neutral, but also being aware that our our emotions also affect all the surroundings around us. So be very cautious about how you bring them in and what's happening for you.
Mhm.
But it is you when you get the book, you could see that the diagram that I put in there.
Yeah. People love a story and people love a visual. I think that to me, it just clicked even more. I was like, gosh, that's it.
That's it.
Cool. Okay, number 7. I know we're getting close on time, but man, number 7 was so good, and I think we could do another podcast on this. And this is how you open up a lot of your conversations with people: is hey, we need to reframe the game. We need to reframe the narrative.
Mhm,
Is the words that
mhm.
you use. And again, I know we're getting closer, but talk to me about what does it mean to reframe? This is huge.
This one is like if we were to pick one, I think this could be used the most every
I agree.
day,
I
which is
agree.
reframe the game, reframe your mindset. So often, with a bad day, people will constitute that it's a bad life now. And or a bad game means I'm a bad athlete, or a bad presentation, even a bad year in business means I should just shut it all down. No, 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 no. You're literally putting a period where they're intended to be a comma. It's a pause, it's an inflection, it's a challenge point. Now you may have to reset and go in a little bit different of a direction, but it does not mean things are over. When you could reframe things. So a great example was I just told you I was doing a podcast with someone earlier, and for whatever reason it didn't record like we thought, and then not until like 3/4 of the way through all of this great material. So while it was really important to my team and I, at the end, I said to them when we got off and regrouped, I said, here's the thing. We can't change it at this moment. We could learn what we need to do ahead of it. Let's look at it this way. We just got an hour and a half conversation with someone that we love that gave all this. It was like getting a keynote for an hour and a half. I'm like, how lucky are we? So it went from everyone was beating themselves up to everything that went wrong. And I go, hold up, now that we learned what we could do different, or I don't even know what happened with technology, how about we look at this as, wow, we just got an hour and a half of an epic conversation. How awesome is that? And they were like, oh, I didn't think about that. My point is, you could be reframing all day to make things work for you, not against you.
Mm. And it comes down to perspective. In some of your dialogue in the book, when you're going through some stories of you and an athlete or you and a client, one of the things you say consistently is after they say what's going on, Dar, you say, okay, let's get centered. Talk to me about those
Mhm.
three words. Why is let's get centered so important? I think it fits really nicely into reframing.
Because oftentimes when we get caught up in a story or we're talking about something, our emotions are starting to take flight a little bit. We're not thinking clearly at times. Why is it that when you're in the shower, ideas come to you? Or sometimes you're driving, the music's not on, or you're hiking and those come, right? It's because you're usually centered, it's quiet. So when sometimes people come to me and we're trying to figure out things, if I could feel like they're too far ahead of where we need to be, or they're stuck in a conversation over here, or wherever it may be, I'll go, hold up. Let's get centered to right here, right now. Because when I can get you centered to right here, right now, now we're literally in the present moment, we're locked in. And now we're dealing with what we need to here. I'm not dealing with you and the past or you and the future. I'm dealing with you here. It's such a game changer for doing it for yourself and working with anyone at work, really anyone. Say, hold up, you know what? Maybe it's even, let's get centered. Let's go take a walk around the building. Get up and change your state, move. Let's just figure out how we're going to take a deep breath, whatever it is, find ways to get back to center.
Good. Perspective is power. Number 8, cultivate grit. Your grittiness will lead to greatness. Talk to me about grit real quick.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I wish if we could give people, especially those coming up, this ability to know adversity is developing your muscle and you're going to want grit. And every time, parents, if you're listening to this, in a relationship, whoever it is, if you keep trying to make life easier for people, you are literally taking away their grit muscle. You can't get better at something you haven't had exposure to. So for everyone that's in this, we're in this comfort crisis where we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. We want to make our homes, like we want to make it as so comfortable as possible that we never have to deal with struggle. Well, now you just took your strength away. So building grit is so important, and you can't do it unless you're in it. So put yourself in situations now. That's why I go in the cold plunge, because do I want to get in cold? No, I don't want to get in cold. But when I put myself in, I'm literally shifting my mindset to say, Dar, you choose to do hard things. And now that becomes part of my persona where I'm like, you know what? I'm the athlete that chooses to do things, the harder things. When there's a difficult conversation, I start to go like, oh, I don't want to have this, because I would rather not have conflict. But I know that there's certain things I have to have and do where I'll go, this is uncomfortable for me, but I've got to have this conversation with you, or we've got to have this. And here's what I'm hoping we get out of this. And now I just put myself where I just got grittier because I dove into the very thing that was hard for me. So expose yourself to hard, expose yourself to things that are going to cause a little bit of struggle. And you want to have, I was just talking to someone about longevity. You want to have better, greater longevity. It's by challenging yourself, not putting yourself in comfort situations. So grit leads to greatness because those that are grittier overcome hard faster. So you want to talk about beating the competition. Well, if you could overcome adversity faster, you're beating the competition. Plus grit is just, you appreciate things too when you've gone through the hard. When you're gritty a little bit, not gritty where you get fixed mindset and you get where you're angry at life. I mean grit where you have resiliency.
You said, I don't even know if you know that you said this brilliant line. You said, the struggle is the strength. How true is that? The
Yes.
struggle
Yes.
is the strength.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dar, bring me home here. Turn the page. Principle number 9. Why don't you end it with that?
So here's the thing. After we've gone through all these principles, which in the book, I put them in a circle. Why? Because life is not linear. You're going to go forward to go back. You have to keep going through principles. But when you get to the point where you've learned the lesson, you've taken what you need out, you did the work, don't get stuck in this problem. Don't get stuck in this pain. You can't write the new chapter if you're stuck on the last page, right? So there comes a time where you have to turn the page on this to move forward. And when we go through adversity, we often get stuck in it and it doesn't allow us to move forward. So turning the page is, you made the mistake, learn from it. You had the challenge of the problem, let it lead to possibilities now. Reframe it, turn the page and move forward. Because when you can move forward, you get to go ahead. And I say that the front windshield of your car is bigger than the rear view mirror. Why? Because we don't want to be stuck looking behind us. We want to look ahead at where we're driving to. So turn the page.
What a great place to end. All right. Principle 1, embrace the suck. Your principle number 2, understand who you are. Principle number 3, seek and apply feedback. Number 4, discover your why power. Principle 5, create your bounce back environment. 6, activate emotional intelligence. 7, reframe setbacks, reframe the game. Number 8, cultivate grit. And number 9, turn the page. Coach Dar, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time. That was a lot of fun.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
How can my listeners support you?
Please buy the book, share the book, give the book. I wrote this as a message for people to get ahead of the game. So this is building your mental fortitude now. Go to CoachDar.com, go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, where books are sold. Pick up the book, follow along on Instagram. It's at the Coach Dar, THE Coach Dar. I share tips from this all the time, but get the book and share the book. We need more people building more mental resiliency now more than ever.
Sorry, this was a pleasure and an honor. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much.